December 17th, 2025, Spooky Scrapbook.
Bo never believed in ghosts, especially not the old stories about spirits visiting people on Christmas Eve. But that night, as the clock struck midnight in his empty apartment, he felt the temperature drop so sharply his breath turned white in the air. The lights flickered. The walls seemed to inhale. Then behind him, something whispered, "Your past remembers you." Bo turned, and a figure stood in the corner, a shape wrapped in faded winter clothes from decades earlier. Its face was blurred, features shifting like frost melting on glass. The ghost of Christmas past raised a trembling hand, and suddenly Bo was dragged backward through memories he tried hard to bury. He saw himself as a child, alone at a table set for a family that never came home. The spirit leaned close, its distorted face inches from his ear. "You never left this moment," it whispered, voice cracked like breaking ice. "It never left you." Before Bo could scream, darkness swallowed the room. He opened his eyes to find himself standing in his apartment again, except now it was filled with strange, contorted shadows moving on their own. In the doorway stood the ghost of Christmas present, monstrously tall, wrapped in robes stitched from thousands of shifting faces. It showed him flashes of people he once loved, each one sitting around warm Christmas lights. But every face turned away from him as though he didn't exist. "They forgot you," the spirit murmured, its voice echoing from 100 mouths. "You taught them how." Bo backed away, heart racing, but the shadows chased him across the room like living arms. Then the lights died completely. A third presence stepped forward, silent, towering, cloaked fully in black. The ghost of Christmas future. Its head was bowed, but from beneath the hood came a soft, rhythmic breathing that didn't sound human. It pointed a long skeletal hand toward the window. Outside, snow fell over a lonely grave marked only with his initials. No dates, no flowers, just cold stone in an empty field. Is that really me?" Bo whispered. The figure didn't answer. Instead, it placed its hand on his chest. Bo felt something cold, tugging, pulling, like it was reaching through him, searching for something deeper. His vision blurred, his legs weakened. The room spun. "No, wait, I can change." The Spirit S hood lifted just enough for Bo to see what hid beneath. There was no face, only a hollow, endless void waiting to swallow him whole. The last thing he heard was the whisper, "Your future comes tonight." At dawn, neighbors passing his window saw only a dimly lit apartment, empty, silent, and coated in a thin layer of frost, as if something had taken Bo and left the cold behind.
Are you the spirit whose coming was foretold to me?
Are you the spirit whose coming was foretold to me?
I am.
I am. Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Why, I'm the ghost of Christmas past.
You're just a child.
I can remember nearly 1900 years. I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Tell him who you are.
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
You don't look like a ghost?
Thank you.
I'm the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
Long past?
Your past.
No, your past.
What is your business here with me? What business brings you here?
Your welfare.
Your welfare is my business.
To be disturbed at this hour is hardly conducive to my welfare.
A peaceful night of unbroken rest would have been more conducive to that end.
A night's unbroken rest might aid my welfare.
Your redemption, then.
Your salvation, then.
Your inclination.
I grew up in a haunted house, and I want to tell you a Christmas ghost story that I always think about this time of year. Just to give a little bit of context, the house I grew up in was built in the 1800s, and we experienced paranormal activity there all the time. That's part of what got me interested in the paranormal to begin with. My mom has always been a Christmas fanatic, so anytime Christmas came around, she would always deck the house out. Every single room was decorated with different Christmas decorations, from the kitchen all the way to the bathroom. The experience I'm going to talk about today happened probably about 12 to 15 years ago, and it was probably around 7 p.m., 7:30, around dinner time. Me, my mom, my dad, it was just us sitting around the dinner table having dinner together. Well, as we were sitting there talking, having dinner, all of a sudden we get interrupted by a huge crash that happened out in the hallway that was right outside the kitchen. When we first heard the noise, we kind of all got startled. We looked at each other puzzled, wondering what in the world that noise was, and I was the first one that got up from the table to go investigate the sound. As I mentioned, my mom had all sorts of Christmas decorations, and part of that collection was those creepy motionette animatronic dolls that moved back and forth. She had one that was Santa Claus, one that was Mrs. Claus, and then she had this one right here that's just this young girl dressed in a Christmas outfit that's holding a candle. When I went into the hallway to investigate what that sound was that doll getting flung across the hallway, probably 8 feet across the hallway, and crashing to the ground. It got flung so hard that it flipped over on its face. It was turned completely 180 degrees, and the cord had been removed from the wall. It was no longer plugged in, and it had about a 6-foot cord. We didn't have any large animals or dogs in the house that could have knocked it over. We just had one small little poodle that was very senior in his life, and he was pretty much held the whole time, and he was in the kitchen with us. There wasn't really any reasonable explanation on how that doll got flung all the way across the hallway and unplugged from the wall. Naturally, I just set the doll back up, plugged it back in the wall, it started working again, and we went back to eating dinner. Just another normal day in a haunted house. If you grew up in a haunted house, I'd love to hear your stories. Comment below and tell me about your experiences. Merry Christmas, y'all. Have a good one.
It's officially Christmas season, time to be jolly, merry, and scary? Yep, believe it or not, Christmas used to be a ghost holiday. No, seriously, before Christmas became twinkle lights and peppermint mochas, it was a time for telling ghost stories. Long, dark winter nights, wind howling outside, everyone gathered around a fire. This was prime time for telling spooky tales. December was considered one of the thinnest parts of the year, spiritually speaking. The cold, the isolation, the darkness, it led people to believe that the door for spirits to wander was more open. So families would gather after dinner, light some candles, and pass the time with ghost stories. It was just as much of a Christmas tradition as caroling or eating figgy pudding. Now, you may not eat figgy pudding anymore, but you do tell ghost stories, because Christmas happens to be home to one of the greatest ghost stories of all time. Later this week, I'll tell you how that ghost story helped define our entire modern idea of Christmas. Until then, stay merry and stay spooky.
In the Victorian era, these long, dark December nights were meant for ghost stories. Families and friends gathered around the fire, letting the shadows do half the work. I'm keeping that tradition alive by reading me a short true ghost story every day in Countdown to Christmas, and by hosting a narrative-based ghost story podcast called Chillers and Thrillers. Today is day 10. When I was a teenager, I had this strange habit. Late at night, I'd sneak out into the roof of my house with a pair of binoculars and just watch the town. The streets felt different after midnight. The vending machines glowed, taxis dragged themselves uphill with drunks in the back seat, and the long slope that led straight to my house stretched out in full view from where I sat. One night, I noticed something moving on that slope. It wasn't walking, it was sprinting. Far too fast for any normal person. I lifted the binoculars and froze. It looked like a child, but horribly wrong. Skin and bones, completely naked, its face stretched into a wide grin. It was waving at me, and its eyes were locked on mine. Panic hit me all at once. I scrambled down from the roof, locked the front door, and stood in the living room, gripping an iron like a weapon, shaking so badly I could hardly breathe. And that's when I heard it. Heavy footsteps thundered up the stairwell like it was searching for me on the roof. Seconds later, they pounded back down, heading straight towards the entrance. Then the banging started. The door shook under the blows. The doorbell rang over and over in a frantic rhythm. I stood frozen in the middle of the room, heart hammering. And then, as suddenly as it began, it stopped. I stayed like that until the first light of dawn, too terrified to move. I never went back up to the roof again.
Welcome to the charming and quaint village of Croston in Lancashire. It has gained a peaceful reputation, situated alongside the River Yarrow. It truly is a British time slip. However, after dark, a few ghosts are said to lurk around. During the day, the setting is truly beautiful, surrounded by fields, but after dark it takes on an eerie, isolated sense. The name Croston is derived from its original title of Cross Town, when it was once a powerful parish market town situated by the river and filled with medieval markets. During the 1950s and 60s, there were documented reports of people experiencing paranormal time slips in Croston. As they strolled through the village, the lighting, buildings and atmosphere suddenly changed. The people walking past them in the street were dressed from a different period, much earlier. In fact, centuries earlier. They appeared medieval. The long dead passers-by seemed to be carrying on with their day, taking no notice of those that experienced this. For some, it lasted around 30 seconds, for others up to 5 minutes, leaving them utterly bewildered and terrified when they were suddenly transported back to their modern day. Most of these encounters seem to be centred around the cobbled street entering St. Michael's Church, so should you find yourself visiting here on a cold winter's day, do be careful. But now I'll relay you the tales of its most infamous ghost that is most often reported around the Christmas period. From late November till early January, the ghost known locally as the Mad Hatter is reported around the bridge areas. During the 19th century, it was sadly commonplace for hat makers to go completely insane as a result of the mercury used to cure the felt used to make hats. This is where the saying, mad as a hatter, originates from, the inspiration behind the iconic Alice in Wonderland character. However, the Mad Hatter of Croston is a little more sinister. The ghost, whom stands around 6 foot tall, is adorned in a top hat, black cloak, smart suit and black leather shoes. He carries a cane and is often heard before he is seen, his shoes and cane clattering against the frosted December cobbles. Those that have happened upon the ghost whilst walking their dogs or taking a late night stroll have been left utterly terrified as he stares at them, an insane grin stretching upon his face, paranormally wide, almost from ear to ear. His eyes are described as wild and deranged, always viewable even in the dark. Whatever the truth about this ghost and the other hauntings associated with the Lancashire village of Croston, it is truly a magical step back in time. So, if you're hoping to have a ghostly encounter this Christmas period, what better place to visit? Happy holidays and happy hauntings.
Most people think A Christmas Carol is a cozy Christmas tale, but its 4 ghosts were meant to terrify Victorian readers. Each spirit wasn't just supernatural, they were symbols of death, regret, and the terrifying consequences of a wasted life. And Dickens designed them to feel like real hauntings. First comes Jacob Marley, wrapped in chains he forged in life, a warning that guilt never dies. Then the ghost of Christmas past, glowing like a flickering candle, gentle but unsettling like a memory you can't escape. The ghost of Christmas present arrives next, a towering prophetic figure whose laughter hides a brutal truth, that ignorance and want will consume the world. And finally, the ghost of Christmas yet to come, silent, faceless, a hooded spectre who shows Scrooge his death and the chilling future no one can outrun. But here's the darkest secret. Dickens based these ghosts on real Victorian death superstitions.
Christmas used to be the scariest holiday of the year, and the Victorians, they expected it to be haunted. When we picture Christmas, we imagine candles and carols and cozy fires, but historically, Christmas was the season of hauntings. They associated them with winter. Winter in the 19th century meant darkness, isolation, and even death. Travel was dangerous. Disease spread faster. Families gathered indoors for long nights with no artificial lights, only candles to light the way. The Victorians believed that this time of year thinned the boundary between the living and the dead. Families light candles, light the fire, sit around the Christmas tree, and tell their most frightening tales. This is also why A Christmas Carol is a ghost story. Charles Dickens was not inventing a strange twist. He was following tradition, and his readers expected a haunting. Over time, Victorian Christmas became more sanitized. The fear faded, the ghosts disappeared. Or did they? Historically, Christmas was not just about warmth and generosity. It was about confronting mortality on the longest nights of the year. Also, I'm in the garage telling this story in the dark, in the cold, and there's a lot of sound happening. I gotta go. Thanks for listening.
Life's better with packages on your porch.